The Jets have committed themselves to Aaron Rodgers. That's clear with the players on the team, the coaches, everything. Is that the right call? There's been jokes. The New York Rodgers, okay? The Aaron Jets. Is it the right call? We'll have a healthy conversation with my father. Pop on Pop starts now with the Little Boy Green Daily action.
Zoinks! But it is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field Gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rodgers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor Gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Good morning, everybody. Paul Esden Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. This is Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcast. And my father has been joining me every weekend for a while since the season's over, so a little hop-on-pop action to get his perspective on the Jets and some other things as well. Let's bring him in. Paul Esden, the Esden Zone. Very nice. Which is available, by the way, in the Boy Green Shop YouTube About section. Nice. Very nice. We're going to add some more merch there. I got to work on that. Good morning, Pop. How are you?
Good. How are you? A little product placement for first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And yes, as someone mentioned a few weeks ago, there's a high demand or request for coffee mugs and the Boy Green logo. And they know you have the Steins, you have the shirts, the tank top, and things of that nature, but need to work on the coffee cups.
Will do. That's well placed. Me and my team are working on that diligently behind the scenes. But I need to ask you something, Dad. Do you know what today is?
Championship Sunday?
Yes, I wasn't sure if you knew what those were. The Jets have been to 3 of those since the last time you guys were, but that's neither here nor there. Conference Championship Sunday, we will get our picks in details a little bit later in the program, but I just want to make sure. Wasn't sure if you were
That's
aware.
fair. Similar to the playoffs. I would hate to do the Jim Mora because it should really be the Jets. It's weird you would go there since the Jets have been they're the 25th ranked team for number of times in the playoffs in the NFL. Out of 32, 25. Teams that are no longer in the NFL have been in the playoffs more for a decade, have been in the playoffs more than the Jets.
Interesting. Quality over quantity.
The Jets have been able to make plans right after week 17 every year for about, a decade and a half. But anyways, you started that. I just wanted to wrap it up.
I get this question at NY Jets FL. Paul Jr., were you alive when the Cowboys won a championship? Yes, I was alive for 2 of the 3 triplets. I was alive for the 93 season and the 95 season. 94, the 49ers won it. Cowboys got to the NFC Championship game that year. In 92, technically, that was in the season of 92, the year of 93. I was like negative 3 or 4 months old at that point. So, yeah, I was alive for 2 of the 3 triplets. But thank you very much for that question. Not sure if that was genuine or not, but yes, I was aware for those as well. Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Just for the record, I'm not sure I was alive when the Jets won a Super Bowl.
That's pretty funny. That is not too shabby as a joke. But anywho, we'll put this aside for now. Get back into Conference Championship Sunday and our official predictions for today's contest in a little bit. But this is a topic you brought up, Dad, and I thought a couple weeks ago, and I thought, that'd be a great show. And here it is. Again, I kind of started it off in the cold open there, but the Jets are pot committed to Aaron Rodgers since they traded for him, even before they traded for him, quite frankly, because the hiring of Nathaniel Hackett, Alan Lazard coming along, eventually all his boys, Randall Cobb, Billy Turners, random ass people, coaches, of course. And there's a connection. So hire some more. James Campen was released by the Panthers. He had that viral moment with Aaron Rodgers where he's calling him a fat piece of this and that on Hard Knocks. So there's some connections there and some other former coaches that could join the group as well. But obviously, the Jets are all in with Aaron Rodgers. And before I give my take, that I think a lot of people will already know, I want to hear from you because you brought this up as an idea and why you, I believe, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but did not think that's the greatest of ideas to be this committed, elbow deep, the New York Jets to Aaron Rodgers. Please, man, the platform is yours.
Yeah. So the average person, I'm not familiar with the ins and outs or the intricacies of Aaron Rodgers' contract. I believe, and I could be wrong, and then I know he restructured it. So I believe you can help me out. So
Yep.
this coming up year, is his contract guaranteed for 2024 season?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. So here are the dirty details. He is owed a base salary of just over $3 million. That was part of the adjustment. And there'd be a $66 million dead cap hit if they moved on. So for all intents and purposes, that is, that's guaranteed. And so is next season as well. Yeah. So his contract is, yes, outside of a future restructure of some sort, even though that would, unless he would just have to take a pay cut. So there's no way. Yeah. So basically, they're committed to Aaron Rodgers for the next 2 years. Yes. And then he's a quote unquote free agent.
And if he walks away, they're not, right? So he has all the control, right?
Correct. So even if he retires, they're still stuck with what is owed. No, they're not saved in any way. Like if he, God rest, or God whatever, if he gets injured, the Jets and decides to retire, which that could be possible. He has 2 season-ending injuries or 2 crazy things in back-to-back seasons at 40, and then he would turn 41 this coming December. Sure, that's possible. All of a sudden, Aaron's like, all right, after this, guess it's not going to happen. And he just walks away. The Jets would be stuck with a pile of dead, which would be very taxing, I imagine. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would like, the real problem with Aaron Rodgers is the Jets shouldn't have gone after him at all, ever.
Okay.
Period.
Do tell.
Yep. Yep. And so the Jets, in a different world, a different scenario, right? They needed a Trent Dilfer. They needed a Hostetler. They needed a Flacco. They needed Carson Wentz. They did not need an Aaron Rodgers. They spent all this money on Aaron Rodgers. They spent the money on his players of his choice with guaranteed contracts when this defense could have won with a Jacoby Brissett. This defense could have won with a Minshew. So that's the problem, right? So they could have used everything, all the effort, right? And I get it. As all the jokes and everything else, this is not a slant, right? As a Cowboys fan, I recognize the hunger that the Jets fan has. Now, although everyone, with all the jokes of when the last time the Cowboys were on in this championship game, the fact is Cowboys have won 36 games in the past 3 years, and the Jets have won, 10. But anyways, that's a little joke. But anyways, what I'm saying is you see a shiny object and you want to go for it. And the disease still exists, wanting to go after Devontae Adams. What you need to do is, it's great to have these weapons. So these phenomenal, it's like a Navy warship, right? With a Tomahawk launcher that's on a rowboat, right? You have pieces and things to fill. You don't need to spend the money on this. You need to be intelligent. You need a better talent evaluator. Joe Douglas, is that his name? Did I get that right?
Yeah, the general manager. Yes, Joe Douglas. That's right.
So he gets all the, what a great thing he drafted Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. Congratulations. Right. Anybody, I could have drafted that. Mel Kiper did in his book, right? I was sitting in New Orleans in a balcony when they drafted Sauce Gardner. He doesn't get credit for that. He was enabled to see the Lazard was a chemistry wide receiver, right? And so the Jets, back to the topic, the Jets didn't need Aaron Rodgers. They needed a competent quarterback that wouldn't screw them over when it comes to the game. They need a game manager, and they overspent on Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers, whether it was 4 plays into the year, 4 games into the year, he was gonna get hurt behind that offensive line. The Jets are slow to react to it and resolve a problem. Everyone knew the offensive line was terrible. We all saw it on national television that the offensive line was miserable. And then we're like, let's ride. Right? So there's a lot so I think Aaron Rodgers was a mistake because you had so many other things you could have done with the money. You could have signed one of those, and I won't go through the list again. We talked about it many times. You could have signed one of these mid-level quarterbacks, right? If you were going to rent somebody, right, rent Matty Ice, right? Rent him much cheaper, right? And he would have been able to manage the game. And then you could have gotten some offensive linemen. You could have gotten a number 2 wide receiver that was actually capable of being on the field and catching a pass, right? That's the problem. You overspent. You wanted to make dinner. You bought the steak and nothing else. So you had saltine crackers with a steak. And by the way, the steak went bad.
Wow. A lot to unpack there. The part I would push back on the GM Joe Douglas thing, right? He has a 4th and 10th overall pick. Like, my grandma could have made that pick. Well, he didn't have his pick of those positions. He got second best in theory. Sauce Gardner was the second cornerback off the board. Derek Stingley went 3rd overall to the Texans. Garrett Wilson was not the first receiver off the board. Drake London went 8th overall to the Atlanta Falcons that year. So, to not get your pick of the litter. And then from what we can tell so far, they got the best at both positions in that draft. Sauce Gardner's been a first-team All-Pro in his first 2 years, one of only 3 players in NFL history to do that. And then Garrett Wilson has been wildly productive. Maybe some people would nitpick and say Chris Olave has been a better receiver, but Garrett with both the offensive rookie of the year plus some of his other accolades. I don't know. So it seems like they've done pretty well there. But anywho, that's a random aside. To the larger point on the pursuit of Aaron Rodgers, I think you almost answered your own. Not even that it was a question, but your own thing with the beginning. You said you understand the hunger of Jet fans, and one way to accelerate the process, one way to mask a lot of deficiencies is quarterback play. The better quarterback you have, if some things are a little ugly, they can make it look prettier. Aaron Rodgers can get rid of the ball faster than Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, and all these other poor excuses for quarterbacks that have come out. And that's apparently what the Jets are going to be banking on top of these additions that they're going to make. It's been 13 years since the Jets have even graced an additional game beyond the regular season. Aaron Rodgers is a Super Bowl quarterback, a 4-time NFL MVP. I feel like the fact of the matter is that can mask holes, which is intriguing. And Aaron Rodgers, what the Jets decided to swing, right? So they brought in Derek Carr. They had dinner with him in New Jersey, New York. And then they were investigating Aaron Rodgers. They said to themselves, who is the best possible quarterback we can acquire within our means this offseason, this past offseason to be had? Well, that's probably true. We actually did a show about that with Ty Butler a couple weeks ago, and I was kind of flabbergasted by the New York Jets, who came out not immediately, but I think it was the owners' meeting, as Joe Douglas said, nah, we're not going to go in that direction. And that would have cost them 2 first-round picks as part, or if they could have negotiated, I guess, a separate trade with the Baltimore Ravens. But if they just signed him as part of his franchise tag, his non-exclusive franchise tag, they would have had to give up 2 first-round picks plus the contract. So, yes, long-term sustainability, I wish there would have been given more thought. It seems like once they went down the Aaron Rodgers path, they're like, all right, we're going down this thing. We're already however many months of negotiations in before they ended up going in the other direction. But I would say ceiling-wise, because you have to take away the season that just happened, because we didn't know the MVP season was to come, Lamar Jackson had ended up injured the last 2 years prior to this season just happening. So the age was obvious, but Aaron Rodgers had a much higher present ceiling. Like, who is the better quarterback right now in the game last offseason? I think a lot of people would argue Aaron Rodgers. So they swung the bat at quarterback the highest that they could in the game's most important position. So for me, I was all about it then. And even the hindsight of the injury, I'm all on board now. And because the Jets haven't made the playoffs in 13 years and then 12 years when they acquired him, I'm willing to hand the keys of the franchise over to Aaron Rodgers and have different players and different coaches and have anyone he wants, because you want to know what? It wasn't working with other guys anyway in the past. So if we're the New York, Rodgers, the Aaron Jets, I don't give a flying hoot. That is fine by me. The playoff drought has been so long, and Aaron Rodgers inspired hope. I had more hope and hype this past offseason than ever before. I thought we were going to win the Super Bowl, thought we were winning the AFC East, and now, an offseason later, after some realism, we're absolutely doing that this year. The project was not canceled. It was simply postponed. We just had to move some things around. That's exactly happening. That's exactly what's going to transpire with the New York Jets. Or winning the Super Bowl and get Devontae Adams, bring him in here. Let's go, baby. Let's chase the chip. Yeah.
So a lot to unpack there. So what you had was a Geo Metro with a Ferrari package on the outside, right? Aaron Rodgers. If we're going to talk some facts, let's trot them out. Hold on, come on in. Come on in, facts. Right. So Aaron Rodgers is coming off the worst year of his career last year. Worst year of his career. You could trot out, 56-time MVP. He was coming off the worst year of his career with a better offensive line, better wide receivers.
He was an MVP prior to his injury in 2 of the last 3 years. So an injured Aaron Rodgers who played that season with an injured thumb. Yeah, that
we're talking about now. So how was the 2022 season for him? How did he do?
He was injured. He played through it. That's what a teammate does. Played through it. That's what Aaron Rodgers did. So that's what I blame on me.
To be successful. I've been to more Jets training camps, and all these yackers are trying to get me wound up about Dallas Cowboys on the thing. I've probably been to more preseason games, more regular season games of the Jets than any of these people on here. I truly do want them to do well. And I'm not throwing stones. These are facts, right? The benefit is I don't have the level of misery that Jet fans have. I have the level of reality, right? They need a lot of pieces. Now we're here. Aaron Rodgers is here. So now we have to make do with what we have. And not to jump too far forward, because maybe we'll talk about it in a week or so. But we need to be okay, to your point, with the third or fourth best or the fifth best tackle in the draft, or the fifth or sixth best wide receiver in the draft. That's because we can't put all of our eggs into this basket, right? We really have to. There's a lot. We have to spread the peanut butter around. And typically speaking, right, you have offensive tackles. You have the top of the top, right? And then after that, you need serviceable offensive linemen, which you do not have, right? We need a competent wide receiver. We do need to likely overspend for a backup quarterback. The rest of the needs can be filled in the draft intelligently. We don't need the best wide receiver in free agency. We need a good developmental person, go after the Gallup, right? Who has a lot of upside, and you're not going to have to pay him that much, right? So that's what I mean. You have to be satisfied. Here's what we have in the bank account this week, right? Okay. We're going to go to the grocery store, right? We have $100 in the bank account. We could spend $95 on Devontae Adams, $3 on a scrub offensive lineman, and $2 on a quarterback. Or we could fill all the holes with quality and intelligence.
I like that Devontae Adams thing. Kind of tempting. That forbidden fruit hanging in that tree. Kind of like that. Randomly, though, I want to ask you this question. NY Jets FL, Paul Sr., if you could pick a quarterback right now for the Dallas Cowboys for the 2024 season, and your choice are Dak Prescott and Aaron Rodgers on the Dallas Cowboys, who do you take?
I take Dak Prescott. I think after this year, after the reason the Cowboys are sitting at home right now, and no one's more upset about it than I am. The
Of
reason they're
course,
sitting
right.
at home right now is literally the shining jewel of the team, which is Dan Quinn. His defense did some great things this year. Ask the Jets, and ask the Patriots. But he has never been able to solve the problem, right? They have phenomenal pass rush. When they get ahead, they can hold you down. But if someone takes the ball and pounds it down the throat they couldn't stop it, right? They have arguably and not, they have four of the best defensive players in the NFL. If you had, I would say top 25, Cowboys have four players in the top 25 defenders.
Who would those four be?
Yep. So Micah Parsons,
Okay.
Lawrence.
I don't know about that, but okay, I'll put them on your list.
Just go back, do a little historical search. Bland and Diggs.
Bland. I mean, that's kind of a POM a little bit, a little prisoner of the moment action on Bland.
If you mean that he has more interception return for touchdowns than Revis Island, then I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Okay. And Diggs, blown ACL. I don't know if I want that limping around out there. Not really sure, but okay.
But anyways, with that, he was unable to adjust his defense. They needed to be able to stop the run. They couldn't. That's why they lost numerous games. We talked about before. That's why they lost the 49ers game. That's why they lost the Buffalo game. Josh Allen threw for maybe 100 yards against them because they couldn't stop the run. And then that's why they lost the Green Bay game, because they couldn't stop the run. Right? And so that's on Dan Quinn. And so that's why the Cowboys lost. It wasn't Dak. Right? Okay. And Dak runs the plays that are called for them, and they had a plan. It was not a very good plan on defense and offense for the Green Bay Packers. And
well, I guess that's the difference. You say Dak Prescott runs the plays that are called. Aaron Rodgers calls his own plays. He goes over and gives a little green 18. Whoa, you there.
Which of the four plays that he had this year did he call?
Okay. Well, one of them that he should have changed was one of the play calls by Keith Carter to have his two offensive tackles cut block immediately, which that kind of play normally requires a quarterback to throw the ball immediately, no evaluation, quick snap, boop. I don't have a lot of time. I have an initial sugar high of the cut block. That's going to stop those pass rushers for a moment, a guaranteed moment. And then, Aaron, you got to let it rip. And there was a guy wide open in front of him. I believe that was Garrett Wilson. I have not gone back to look at that play for obvious reasons. And he didn't. He hesitated. And then crap happens, and zooey mama. And then,
so it's very interesting. It's very interesting. So something that you, a sports broadcaster, very good.
Sure, appreciate that.
New York has figured out something that a 37-time NFL MVP calls his own play. He couldn't figure that out, but you figured it out.
Well,
and that'll never happen again.
That won't, right? That play was removed from the playbook.
Maybe they're going to call you so you can be the quarterback's coach.
Well, that may be better than the quarterback coach they have, which I believe is a combination of people, including Rob Calabrese, who I'm not a massive fan of, but, I'm sure the Jets know what they're doing. And, what we'll have to do, say that again?
Do they? We never seriously considered pursuing Lamar Jackson. That's a thing the Jets
according publicly,
right?
Which
I didn't know Breece Hall was good catching the ball.
That was perhaps the dumbest comment I've ever heard. I don't understand how that happened. That was
the people
Nathaniel
that are steering
this,
are steering this Jets ship, and this Jets ship is really the Miracle on the Hudson. It's an airplane that's slowly sinking.
Well, here's the good news, I would say. Okay, so you can look at that comment and say, "Wow, Nathaniel Hackett is an idiot for what his comment is." You could say that, or say, "Hey, He figured it out halfway through the season that Brees Hall could catch the ball. You want to know what happened? He ended up with the most receptions of any running back in football. That includes Christian McCaffrey. That includes everybody with his 76 catches. So the coach going, he can catch? And he figured that halfway through the year, and he led the league in receptions. Imagine if they apparently knew that fun fact at the beginning of the season. Brees Hall, in Jets single season franchise history, his 76 catches are second among running backs. The only one that was larger was running back / fullback Richie Anderson in the year 2000. So the fact of the matter is he was able to make chicken salad out of chicken halfway through the year. Imagine at the beginning. Now that they've figured it out, this Brees Hall guy can catch the ball. We're going to try that from the beginning of the season. Oh, man, watch out. So
with a coach like that, I'm not sure how you can hack it.
That's very nice. That's very nice.
No,
so
listen,
listen. Go ahead.
The Jets. Let me tell you how they're going to fix their problems.
Please
invite Hackett. Okay, get Hackett. Get Salah. Maybe you take him in a car ride out into Jersey somewhere and give him the Sopranos treatment, right? And you bring in Vrabel, who has proven that he doesn't need a superstar quarterback to be successful, right? And would be hands down. You don't bring in Bill Belichick. You don't bring in Bill Belichick, right? Because of the hatred, I get all that. But Vrabel, right, tailor-made to be a New York Jet guy. Tough guy, defensive guy, knows how to win the game, right? Fly Vrabel fry, hashtag. So that's what they should still do. It's still possible, right? Bill Belichick's not going to get a job. But and I hope Dan Quinn gets hired by the Seattle Seahawks. I hope that happens. I'll pack his bags for him, right? But the Jets can still get Vrabel, and then they could do something next year. With this coaching staff, with this leadership team, even the healthy Aaron Rodgers, they're not going to get there. And they're not going to make the right decisions, right? The Jets' future for 2024 is happening between now and the next 2 months. That's really, if they don't get the offensive lineman, if they don't get a serviceable backup quarterback, if they don't get the wide receiver 2 and 3, right, they will fail again. And I hope it's not true. And the reason they will is these people are moronic, right? Robert Saleh sounds like Elmer Fudd at the podium. What about all these penalties? Well, we got to figure it out. Have you seen a rabbit? And that was week 16. You could say that on Hard Knocks, that we got to figure out these penalties. Week 16, You don't get to say that. Oh, I don't know. Got to go look at the tape. Right? It's embarrassing.
Yes, that's very fair. I would say also on the Sopranos line, poor Adriana. Shouldn't have talked to the feds. We're
going to go visit Christopher in the hospital.
Oh, boy. Christopher. Oh, boy. Not terrible. So on a future episode, we'll have to cut up and talk about the plan that is apparently to be with Aaron Rodgers and what they could potentially do coming up in free agency and everything else. Some of those moves that have been rumored, including, as we had a video up earlier this week, it's doing quite well. The Jets are apparently flirting with Calvin Ridley, who is said to be a free agent, the wide receiver out of Jacksonville. More to come on that. You guys can watch a full video right now. Go to our video section and you will find it. Pop, let's wrap up with the conference championship Sunday. We've got a couple of games to discuss, so let's get right into it if we can. And folks, you're going to get that at both 3 o'clock and 6:30 respectively for our NFL games today. And we start off in the AFC Championship game. That'll be on CBS. The Kansas City Chiefs travel to Baltimore for the AFC Championship game. Ravens are now a 4.5-point favorite in that contest. This is the first time the Ravens have ever hosted an AFC Championship game in their history. And old Patrick Mahomes on the road. Where are you leaning here, Dad? Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, who we got?
Yeah, so I was just looking up. Yeah. So it's really terrible news, not for the Chiefs, but for the Ravens.
What's that?
Is Kadarius Toney is out.
The
Ravens' chance of winning would be much better if he was actually going to play.
That's good. That's good. Mark Andrews, by the way, is back, so a shout out there. He is expected to play today. So shout out to Mark Andrews. Been out for a while.
their running back Pachenko is going to play. So I would tell you that I'm in the Ravens camp. Kansas City might get squirrely, but I think Kelsey had enough. He wrote all the money that was in his bank account, and he's done. So I see the Ravens winning this one, covering the spread, probably winning by 8.
Wow. That would be here's just the thing I said last week, and that's not a bad pick. The Ravens are the best team in the AFC, obviously, the number 1 seed and everything. Boy, the defending Super Bowl champs getting points last week in Buffalo, as we found out they took that, and getting it again. Boy, it's just I know it's not your grandfather's Chiefs, but boy, you see Mahomes and you see some of the Andy Reids and the Kelseys, and you just wonder if they figure it out as they did in Buffalo. So actually, let me make sure I stand by my word here. I think the picks I sent to the group, the family group, was I guess we'll go game by game. Let me make sure I sent it appropriately. Okay, so I said Ravens, so I will stick with it and make sure that I ain't consistent. I will go Baltimore. I think, though, if I'm picking the spread, I think I like that juicy 4.5. I think the Chiefs can keep it within that, but we'll see. I just don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to run away from the Ravens. The defense is too good, or from that standpoint. So, yeah, I'm going to go Baltimore. Baltimore back to the Super Bowl. Let's do that. All right, let's go to the other game. 6:30 Fox. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's really right. The finding squirrely ways to make it happen is not going to happen against the Ravens. That's how I see it, right? They don't have the wide receivers. They have this running back who's playing above his talent and above his head.
Who, Pacheco, you're talking about?
Yes, and so it's not going to happen against the Ravens defense. That's why I like a straight out win being by 8. The next one, the Lions, of everyone in the NFC, the Lions are the ones that are built to beat the 49ers.
Interesting. Oh, do tell,
so
please.
Here's what I mean.
Okay.
So the 49ers like to come and punch you in the mouth, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of talent. They want to punch you in the mouth and come at you. You know what the Lions like to do? The Lions
bite
like
kneecaps.
To punch you in the mouth, right? They want to bite kneecaps. They want to bring you. They want to drag you down into the mud, and they want to beat the crap out of you. So they are uniquely poised to bring it to the 49ers, unlike really any other team in the NFC, in my opinion. And so, the 49ers aren't used to that. Right?
I would imagine not.
So they are not used to that. And I'll tell you that Campbell is shown amazing, not just because he's a former Cowboy, although he is. He has been a phenomenal coach. Has really, from the moment he took over, he established a culture, and he's driven them on this path. Most people thought it was going to be a year from now. I think the year is now. I think they beat the 49ers flat out, beat them. Forget the points. They're going to go in there. They're going to punch them in the mouth. And by the way, it's great that Samuels is going to play for the 49ers.
Yes.
My prediction is he doesn't finish the game. He's going to come in questionable. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? He is not going to finish the game. He's going to get knocked out of the game. And the Lions defense is going to confuse Mr. Irrelevant, and Detroit's going to win.
Wow. Well, that would be spectacular. Again, that game is at 6:30. That's on Fox. The 49ers are a whopping 7-point favorite, which just seems plain aggressive, quite frankly, after 49ers barely survived against the Lions. Cheers. And I would say that the things you got to love about the Lions, they have arguably the best offensive line in football. So when you have that trench warfare against the 49ers defense that does like to, quote unquote, punch you in the mouth, they've got that phenomenal 1-2 punch with Jahmyr Gibbs, who's been a spectacular rookie and also a player the Jets are looking at, and David Montgomery in the backfield. So the only thing that worries me is that Lions secondary is holy, and I am not talking about in the religious sense. So if Purdy can get a little bit going from that perspective, that's what scares me. And here's the other thing for the Lions. I'm picking Detroit, but they can't do what the Packers did. They dropped a pick 6 in the game last week. They dropped another interception, and the 49ers, that was close. You have to take full advantage of those opportunities, and when you have chances to make interceptions, you take the picks, and that will cash it in for the Lions. So they can't drop those opportunities. So these playoff games are tight. Those are the things that separate the good teams from the great teams. The winners from the losers is making plays. And the Lions, again, this speaks to we do this every once in a while. It's not as stark between the Jets and Cowboys, but the 49ers, this is their 17th NFC Championship game appearance, the most in history. That's there's no team that's had more. And then the Lions, this is their second. This is the folks in the museum. Wow, I've never been here before. This is great. And then the 49ers are the director that does this show every day, apparently, for these people. So we'll see. The Lions don't seem like the team, though, that's going to be that. They say that every once in a while about a team that's making the trip for the first time. They're just happy to be there, and that's their little. As soon as they're eliminated, wow, we had a really good year of getting kind of seeing how things operate. It seems like they're operating as a team that has been there before, and it would be spectacular for Lions fans to go to their first ever Super Bowl. So give me Detroit. I like the trench warfare. I trust Jared Goff more than Brock Purdy. So
yeah,
quarterback league.
One other quick prediction: Aiden Hutchinson
Sure.
at a minimum of 2 sacks and a strip sack. Recovering the fumble minimum, and he's the one that may allow Sam Darnold to grace the stage of the championship game.
Oh boy, if he does, I might have to change my pick back to the 49ers. The chosen one, Sam Darnold. I just we'll see. We'll see. It should be fun, though. I think the thing I will say, and feel free on the way out here as we're finishing up, you have 4 possibilities, obviously. Well, more than that, but you have 4 teams: Chiefs, Ravens, Lions, 49ers. No matter what combination in my mind shows up in the Super Bowl with these teams, I think it's a compelling Super Bowl. We could have a potential Super Bowl rematch. We could have 2 fresh teams that haven't been there in a hot second, and the Ravens and Lions. As I look at any of these, Chiefs, Lions, it's a repeat of week 1, which was a phenomenal game. Baltimore 49ers, it's another Super Bowl rematch that we've had in the past. So as I'm just looking at the 4 teams, wow, no matter what, it seems like we should get an awesome Super Bowl with compelling storylines.
Yeah, I don't want to see the Chiefs and 49ers.
You do not want to see that re-rack.
Yeah,
I see.
I'm done with that.
Oh yeah.
I really want to see the Ravens Lions. I don't want to see the re-rack from 11 years ago or whatever it was with the Harbaugh brothers. At least this time we'll be on the same sideline in that case. But yeah, I really want to see the Lions and the Ravens. That's what I'd like to see.
That's it for me. We'll see if it happens. Well, Pop, thanks for joining the program. Really appreciate you. We'll have to do this again next week and dive into the Aaron Rodgers plan. It should be spicy. That'll be our week off because that's a Pro Bowl and stuff. There's a bye week before we get to Super Bowl week, so we'll be able to give it some full love.
Right. We're gonna want to see that. I think Thursday night, I believe, is when the skills competition starts. For the Pro Bowl, it's broken into 2 things. On Thursday and Sunday. So you can get your fill. It won't be Thursday night football, which is probably going to be better than most Thursday night football games this year. But there you go. It'll be exciting, and we can start ramping up and do that. We can probably pick 2 or 3 ridiculous questions that the Super Bowl pressers have. We're going to try it out some from the past. We can do a few questions like that. That would be funny because I don't know. And the problem is, the people asking questions don't realize how idiotic they are.
Which I don't know if that makes it better or worse, but those will come up for Super Bowl Media Day, and then Super Bowl prop bets. Those get a little funky. We'll have to do some of those coming up as well. That should be a lot of fun. Tomorrow on the show, we'll have Russell Brown, who's heading down to the Senior Bowl. We had a conversation, and we will be playing that on the show tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. Russell Brown live from down there at the Senior Bowl, Mobile, Alabama. Should be a lot of fun. Pop, thanks. We'll see you again next weekend.
All right. Hey, let's get on these mugs. Let's get on the mugs.
All right, there you go. That's it. Yeah, let's see.
Right.
There we go. I do need to get on the mugs. Me and my team are on that. Absolutely. All right, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Take care.